Now here's Clark again. Through again he goes. He's got Tutu with him. It's Ioane, in fact. Enrico Ioane's going to...
Kia ora, tolofalava, and welcome to another episode of the Counter Ruck, a podcast where we discuss all things rugby. I'm the host of the Counter Ruck, Stace, and today we welcome one of our regulars on here, Rog, Watamata rugby stalwart. So, Roger, thanks for jumping on us.
Talofa bula vanaka, malo elelei. Kia ora.
Nice, brother. So I'll just take care of a few housekeeping things, but before I do that, actually, I just want to say congratulations to us on the Counter Ruck. So this is our 20th episode, so it's a milestone of sorts. So I wasn't sure how it would go when we started the podcast, or if we'd even make it to 20, but we did. And I've listened to some of those early episodes, and I'll say we've definitely gotten better as the years progressed. So, Rog, mate, just wanted to get some thoughts on our first 20 episodes so far, as this will probably be our last Counter Ruck podcast for 2020. So, just what have you got some thoughts on our first 20 in the year we've had?
If we finish off on 20, it's quite coincidental with the year that it's been, 2020. It's been a bit of a slow start. But then towards the back end of the year, once we got rolling with not only the rugby, but with the pod as well. It's just been good just to be able to share some views with the gents and the listeners and have a bit of banter along the way. And it's been awesome being a part of it. So well done to WESWES, Stacey hosting us and taking us through the blows, blow by blow, week in, week out, as much as we've been able to. So no, it's been good. It's a good format.
Yep. It's definitely been enjoyable, Rog, and you've been a major contributor, so appreciate your feedback, and all the rest of the boys. We've got a couple of boys who will jump on a bit later. But I wanted to mention, talked about the housekeeping things, so I'll mention them now. Our website is up and running, so check us out, www.weswesnet.com. And also you can follow the Counter Ruck on Twitter and Facebook, so as well as our network YouTube channel. So even though our podcast will probably be taking a hiatus for the summer, we'll still be active through the website and social media. So you can get your rugby fix or whatever you need through there. So, Rog, we'll get into it, mate. A lot happened in the world of rugby since our last podcast last week that I wanted to go through. The Mitre 10 Cup that finished over the weekend with Tasman victorious. So we'll revisit that. But I wanted to start by looking at the All Blacks. We'll look at the All Blacks Argentina test on the weekend first. And the ABs, they took it out quite convincingly, actually, 38-0. So, Rog, I'll come to you, mate. What did you make of that game, and what were your initial impressions?
I think there was a lot riding on this week coming into it. Obviously, the All Blacks trying to redeem themselves from the historic loss against the Pumas a couple of weeks ago. Argentina put on a decent fight against Australia in the week that previous to the weekend gone, and they drew with Australia. So they were coming into this match with their tails up. They were quite confident because they'd just beaten the All Blacks, had drawn against Australia, which could have gone either way. Again, Australia could have won it, but then at the same time, Sanchez just missing one off the boot could have taken it as well. But then with the loss of a world-renowned football player in Maradona, Argentina were trying to pay tribute to a national icon. So they had a lot to play for in the respect that the All Blacks showed in presenting the Argentinian squad with a jersey, All Black jersey with number 10, and Maradona on the back of that jersey was a fitting way to start the test, because I think emotions were quite high. But it reminded me of when the Argentinians paid tribute to Jonah Lomu 5 years ago when he passed, and they came out in the warm up prior to the match against the Barbarians in the Northern Hemisphere, and they were all sporting number 11s in their warm up jerseys. So it's quite nice that internationals able to contribute and seeing that it goes beyond just the happens on the field. There's also off field rivalry, but at the same time respect between players. But I was riding on it, and so they needed to really bar up and try and produce a good outcome for the side. And likewise, opinions want to put history, to try and back up and another win. It wasn't a big, but it was a good result. I think the score flattered the All Blacks, the end score, because at halftime 10-0 up, Argentinians were still in. They could have scored just before, they close to scoring just after. So they were unfortunate, a lot of errors, a lot of mistakes, and they were tackling. There was at one point when I saw, I think, 125 tackles that they had made to the All Blacks, and All Blacks had only made 20 at one stage. So it just goes to show how not only their defense was good to hold them out 10 points up, but how they were being fatigued as well and being drawn into that type of tight tussle. And it was similar to what the All Blacks were drawn into. Didn't matter what they tried to do, the Argentinians were on par with their defense, and this time around they struggled to get the ball, and then when they did get the ball, they couldn't hold on to the ball. Plenty of mistakes coming from the Argentinians, and then even when it got to 10-15 minutes left in the match, especially the 15-minute mark, Will Jordan was injected into the game, and the All Blacks were only up 22-0. So there was sort of room again, and the Argentinians had plenty of opportunity to try and get some points on the board, but to no avail, unfortunately. And with Will Jordan coming on, 2 quick tries changed the sort of scope of things, and Argentina were staring down a pretty devastating result from their perspective. So opportunist tries from Will Jordan, and we've seen him do that in the Super Rugby, and so that's what everybody was expecting of him at international level. Whether he was able to replicate that, I think he's got a bright future in the All Blacks and on the international stage, and he just needs to be given more of an opportunity. Whether he will be able to start at some point, it'll be. I guess we'll see in the next couple of seasons, because he's still going to be fighting it out with George Bridge. You got guys like George Bridge, Severis, who'd been left out for the majority of this campaign. And you got the likes of Caleb Clark, who's just coming into his own as well. But all in all, good result. Foster, all smiles and no criticism for Foster now, for the meantime anyway, leading into the summer and coming into the international window for next year. But I think all smiles all around, and All Blacks just showed when they're down, they're able to come back and produce that kind of a scoreline. But 3 tries in the last 10-15 minutes, it flattered the All Blacks a lot, because Argentina had put in a lot of defensive work, but unfortunately their hands and a lot of their structure went out the window in trying to come up with a historic second win against arguably the world's best team.
Yeah, arguably, I like. Yeah, I agree with you that Maradona tribute was amazing. I was so happy about that, the way the All Blacks honoured him in that way. And, that's the beauty of rugby. It's can be quite a brutal game, but there's still that gentlemanly aspect in that. I don't know what the right word is, but that sort of they really respect each other and all the rest of it. So I thought that was really well done. I thought Akira Ioane was amazing, and I think, like you mentioned, Will Jordan as well. So the one thing about Foster, which I didn't like, I thought that was the last test, and his selections were quite conservative. He sort of had his favourites that he liked, and Akira and Will Jordan weren't really there. But when you sort of watch them play, when they finally got their opportunity, you're thinking, shucks, they should have got a chance earlier. But yeah, you touched on Argentina, and I felt for them because they had to make mass changes because, this is their third consecutive Test match, and I think that sort of showed they don't quite have the same depth. So some of those guys that got changed weren't quite as good as the players that played in the first sort of couple of weeks. So I thought that really came through strong. But what did you make of Argentina? Where do you think they're at, Rog?
It's a good point that you make that, because I think this sort of this regular tests that they're going to be having, and whether or not able to back up results with a second string team, or a lot of the guys that they bring in due to injuries or for whatever reason there's forced changes, it can only build the experience for those players that they do bring in, because yep, they might have a really strong first team, but then for these other players to go through the results that have been in the last couple of weeks, the draw to Australia as well as the result to the All Blacks on the weekend, 38-0, can only build them up for tournaments that will be coming up for next year for the World Cups, and that can only be better uh, for the betterment of Argentinian rugby, because then you've got a lot of these players who have been in the in those dark places, in the low lights as well as having the highlights. So I believe that it can only be good for them, for the Argentinian rugby moving forward. Mario Ledesma's been there. He's one of the most experienced, if not the most experienced Puma that they've produced, and so he knows how to get the team up and what the players need to sort of reach the levels of the All Blacks, of the Wallabies and South Africa's, as well as England's and co. So hopefully it'll put them in good stead for years to come. But they've got the likes of Crema and their captain Pablo. They can, if they build off some of these guys leading into that World Cup, they'll be a force to be reckoned with. And I don't think people will be taking that win against the All Blacks lightly, and they won't be downplaying that, because that's a massive feat, not only by Argentina but by a team that probably 5-6 years ago just looked like an ordinary tier 2 coming into tier 1 sort of quality. But I think they've made heaps of strides in the last few years, and I think having the likes of Mario Ledesma take the helm can only be good for Argentinian rugby, and they continue to play these tier 1 teams. Again, if they can produce a result like beating an All Black, that's a box ticked for them. So nothing but praise for the Argentinians, and it's quite hard for them to not even get a home game, and for them to be able to do that in Australia, because their best games they've played against the All Blacks have always been in Buenos Aires or in Argentina, and so who knows what they can produce in the future. Malo-san.
Hey, so brothers.
Hey, what's up, brother?
So,
Yeah, good thoughts there, Roger. I agree with that. They've got some depth in the some good, very good loose forwards. Sanchez is good. They've got some good young halves there too. But yeah, Sully, I'll just thanks for jumping in, brother. We're just talking about the All Blacks Argentina match on the weekend. So what did you make of that? Did you catch the match, and what are your thoughts on that one?
yeah, I caught the match. Sorry, boys, I jumped on later. It's 48-hour morning period when Auckland loses, so yeah, it's just lapsed now. So I'm back on. But yeah, I thought it was a good game. I thought they made a statement early. It was good that they showed respects as well to the great Diego Maradona, who passed away. And I'm pretty sure the Argentinian boys didn't want to get too emotional into that and go out there and do their job. But I think the one of the main things that I got back from it was that we changed up the game. The changes they made in this game should have been the changes we made at halftime. They adjusted good. Obviously, it's easy to say that when you've got obviously your own game footage as well as the footage against Australia to study upon, to fix all those work-ons that they needed to address. I thought Monga played really well, but I think it was just the changes we made. Nipolo Lalo did well from the front. We dominated their scrum. We set the platform in order to run. At the same time, they realized that Argentina was only sending one person into the ruck, so I think it was probably a main goal for them to only have a max of two people securing our rucks, and then just have more people on up on their feet. Akira played really well. The only thing missing now is just consistency for him at number 6 to secure that spot. But I think having that big body to help out Adi as well as Sam Kent and running those wider channels, especially when you're running out wide, but in the in the tighter spaces, I thought Akira did really well, and his defense was really well. Backs played good. The kicking game was good, and it was really good to see how both wingers were involved really early. So it kind of forced it forced Argentina to realize that now we've got the strong runners and our wingers coming in to help take up players, but they've got to address and account for more forwards now on their feet as well. So all in all, as much slack as everyone's probably giving Fozzie after that last loss. It was a good change up from him. Again, what do we actually take into account with this win in terms of his winning record and his future? His future from here is a whole different story. But I think got to give props when or you got to give his due for obviously the win. Again, it wasn't really the same team that they lost to as well. I think it was like over 10 changes. I think the trouble that probably Ledesma is facing is that his team is now going to play 4 weeks in a row and against like top 5 teams. So, that's that in itself. Maybe that's why I'm not overly happy about the win. Like, obviously, I'll take the dub, and it's good to see the All Blacks make the changes and address those changes. But that needed to be made. But again, like Argentina coming off, that's their 3rd game in a week, playing against 2 nations, playing games all the way past the 80th minute. Not much recovery time, and then at the same time, the player base that they brought over, there's not real much depth. And the style that they play, real physical, it's going to have its toll. Yeah, but not all in all, I'm just happy with the win.
Yeah, so I think what I liked about Akira, like you mentioned, Sally, was that his metal, you could see the maturity in Akira when there was a little bit of niggly push and shove from Crema when he pushed they were just preparing for a scrum, and then all of a sudden little Aaron Smith gets pushed by Crema, and then Artie steps in. Old Artie, a couple of years ago.
Akira,
a couple of years ago, would have grabbed that
collared
throat or his jersey, but it was just awesome to see that he didn't need to do that. All he needed to do was just stand in front of Crema, and Crema backed off. But that's all he needed to do, as opposed to what we've sort of become used to seeing him. So that was good to see how he's progressed, not only as a player and what he did around the field, but just in that sort of moment, you realised how much he had matured as a player, as a person as well. So given what he's gone through off the field, and so that was awesome to see. And I think that was sort of the general feel between him and his brother, how they were reacting to certain things on the field. They knew they didn't have to take it to that level where there could be a potential yellow card involved, or So that was really pleasing to see.
Yeah, I think Rico's still a bit the same. I think he needs more the maturity now. I think the most disappointing thing that I've probably seen out of Rico this year, he's lost the ability and maybe a bit of the confidence to finish tries. Like that the opportunity he got over the weekend. Yeah, maybe it was a good tackle and all, but Rico of old, he would finish that. And the thing is now, like, we got to get if we can get both of them on the same page in terms of being a lot more mature. Like you said, with Akira, he's made the necessary changes off the field in order to put the on-field performances through. I'm happy for him.
And people have already said that is Akira our answer to Jerome Kaino, since having a guy like Jerome Kaino, can Akira be that guy? Or are they still going to be experimenting with other guys like, you've still got Shannon Frizzell, but I think there was sort of chalk and cheese with how Shannon Frizzell reacted in that loss to Argentina to how Akira. But obviously they've had the luxury of hindsight and what to react to and what not to. So there's been probably plenty of talks going through camp leading up to this final match against Argentina. So, but yeah, his general play was awesome to see Akira in his element, being their power forward and as well as just standing his ground and not having to, act on every single little niggle that was occurring.
What about you, Stace? What did you reckon of the improvements in terms of maturity and his on-field performance?
Oh, looks like host keeps on cutting out.
Oh
We
no,
lost
that's
Stace
okay.
again.
We'll just carry it on. What else did you see? Oh, what did you see in Argentina? The game that just went by. What was the difference that you reckon? Was it the performance of the All Blacks, or was it just the mental and the physical toll that the last three games have taken on? That Argentina had taken on. That's probably created that difference, especially with the result. I thought they still defended really well, but I never saw them going 38-0.
Yeah. I never
Yeah.
saw that either. And
Yeah.
so that's why it was the way that the scoreline was before, that 70-minute mark,
Yeah.
before Will Jordan came on, it was looking pretty favourable for Argentina, even though it was pretty inevitable that they were going to be taking this loss. 22-0 down, with 10 or so minutes to go. There's still a decent day at the office against the All Blacks. If there's any sort of silver lining in a loss. So I think the scoreline, as I mentioned to Stace, is that the scoreline sort of flattered the All Blacks at the end of the day, at the end of the match, by those extra 3 tries, 2 to Will Jordan and then to Patrick Tupolotu. They just blew the scoreline out. And I also mentioned that, there was one time when they had made 120 odd tackles to the All Blacks 20 odd.
Yeah.
So that would have taken a toll. And obviously, like you say, 3 tier 1 quality sort of test matches in a row in 3 weeks would have definitely taken a toll as to why there was those forced changes of 10 in that personnel. So, but I believe that it could only, do them good in the long term, where these players who were having to step in and take up the challenges, that's going to be, to the betterment of their rugby experience going forward into future campaigns for Los Pumas. So, but at the same time, I was a little bit disheartened because I know that they were not only emotional during the week because of the loss of Diego Maradona, but for them not to be able to, not even score a point, or probably put their best foot forward. And Ledesma was saying how, just too many drop balls. They had opportunities, but they just didn't seem to function as one, and they weren't gelling. And balls were being dropped. Those tries that Will Jordan scored was just because one missed pass. It went right past the player that it was intended for, and good bounce. Will Jordan was able to scoop, and then he was on the fly. The second one, he just happened to grab, again, another pass which they had an overlap in that first one, and when they went to ground, and then they had an opportunity outside of Will Jordan too, but he was just able to read the play, grab it out of the air, and he was away. So, yeah, you got to take those opportunities when they come, because whether it's just Will Jordan just happens to be that guy that he did it plenty of times for the Crusaders as well this season. So that's good for the All Blacks, but long may it continue.
Yep. Yeah, good thoughts there, Rog. Sorry, guys, I've had some technical difficulties, but yeah, I think this is probably our last podcast for the year. I wanted to look at the All Blacks performance overall for the year. So 3 wins, 2 losses, and a draw for Foster's first season. So a 50% win record. Sully, mate, what have you made of the All Blacks this year and the new captain and Kane and the new coach?
For me personally, I think if we go off the standard as well as the winning ability of All Blacks of yesteryears, I would say this is a pretty poor season. But given the circumstances of this year of COVID-19 and just 2020 in general, I think we have to tip off our hats to the players. All they've done is just turn up, train hard, and if anything, they've off Super Rugby Aotearoa. The season's been pretty much congested, and they've just been thrust straight into camp. And as much as we can criticize them for this year, especially the coaching and the management, but it's like again unprecedented times. So we can't really truly mark them on their abilities as well as their performances. Just because it wasn't the ideal circumstances in order to like I said, Argentina, Argentina as well as Australia probably have had the luxury of probably preparing a bit better compared to the All Blacks. We've been an unfortunate it feels like we're going through a rebuild, but at the same time not really, only in the sense that some of the core players, especially like the 9, 10 out the spine, are still there. It's more so now we're currently in this situation where we've got a lot of good players in every position. Now it's just more so like how do we, like right now I feel like we're not playing the best player at that position. It's more like we're playing the best players and just trying to get them on the field all at the same time. I reckon maybe this year would probably be just a work in progress kind of year. Try and see if we can get the chemistries going. Like we all noted, we felt like Akira played really well. Again, number 6 come in any All Blacks jersey, you can have a great performance. The hardest thing is whether you can back it up and keep it consistent. Everyone can have a strong performance in the black jersey. It's almost like it's automatic and it should be demanded. But like in Akira's case, there's so many good number 6s waiting that are not even part of the squad. There's Mikaele Mika. There's Tom Robinson. Who else is a good number 6? Dalton Papali'i still hasn't got a chance. So like I said, the coaches still got a massive job ahead of them, and the players as well. We still playmaking role, especially within the backs. Still a work in progress. But if anything, I'm liking the looks of how Monga's been playing lately, as well as Will Jordan. He's just got this ability to. It looks like he's got that Ben Smith ability, right place, right time, and just knows what to do when given a chance. So I'm really optimistic of what the future holds for the All Blacks. I think the good thing about this year is with this loss and with the draws, it's given the All Blacks the sense of vulnerability, and it's making all the other teams feel a little bit more confident against the ABs. And if anything, leading up into an All Black year, I'd love to be an underdog, because that's when the true metal of the black jersey comes out. All in all, I think it's been a really good year for the All Blacks. Unprecedented times, but I think that they've still managed to uphold the quality within the black jersey and do the best that they can. That's my thoughts anyway.
Yeah, good thoughts there. Actually, I agreed with a lot of what you had to say there. How about you, Roger, mate? What have you made of the All Blacks season this year?
So I think a lot of what Sully's already mentioned is pretty much bang on. I think coming off really exciting the new format of Super Aotearoa that we all witnessed this year got us excited for again for All Black season because we were just getting excited just because of our Super Rugby that we were able to have as spectators, as fans. So just to have the international window be able to go ahead and not be cancelled due to COVID. I think everyone had to go through, especially the players and the personnel management. There was a massive element of sacrifice, albeit their job and what the contractor to do, not to be with their families for the amount of time that they've had to experience, to endure during these times being in Australia. Someone was going to miss out. So obviously the Australians were able to get the result and host. But for the Argentinians as well, being away for that long, there was talks, week before that game against the All Blacks, 402 days without any rugby. So that was massive on there. So there's a lot of elements and aspects and challenges that all the teams have to sort of try and overcome leading up to this international window, which is similar to what's happening over in the Northern Hemisphere, watching some of the games, no crowds. And so it's quite a luxury to know that what we've got down these ways is sort of being sort of envied from afar from the Northern Hemisphere. So it's just the way that the world is at the moment, and we're all making do. So, whether we sort of enjoy the results or not, and we've had a fair share of some a loss as well as a couple of draws, 2 losses now and a draw. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag, but that's, I guess, the times that we are in at the moment, and the challenges that it's not normal. It's not on the same sort of platform that the All Blacks have had. They've been going into a lot of campaigns with a stable sort of mentality, whereas a lot of the players have been hit with what we all know as COVID, and it's going to be around for a couple of years yet.
Yeah. Good thoughts there, boys. Yeah, it was an interesting season. I agree with a lot of what both of you had to say. It's hard to really judge them based on all the difficulties that all the teams have faced, not just the All Blacks. But I thought of the new guys, obviously Caleb Clark, he shone, and I think he established himself. Of all the new guys, he's probably the most established and is probably the first choice 11 that they've got there. But I agree a lot with what you had to say, Sully, about how he just picked his 15 best players and try to sort of shoehorn them into roles there. And because that didn't really work, I'm not sure with 1 year in, and I'm still not sure what our best team is. So, the makeup of the back three, what they do with both of those Barretts and, Will Jordan, he probably should have got more game time earlier. He was obvious, in my eyes anyway, probably of genuine right winger, as opposed to trying to shoehorn Geordie into that role. And also the Lucy's, I'm still not 100% sure, although maybe Akita might have established himself there, the makeup of the Lucy. So that's probably one thing which I was a bit unsure about. I thought they would have been a bit more closer to establishing their first choice team, but maybe I'm not convinced they've done that. So yeah, one thing I will say, they had 2 outstanding performances, which was that record winning margin against Australia. So that I can't remember what it was, but that game where they played in Sydney, I think it was. That was a record-winning margin against Australia, and that game last week where they held Argentina to 0. I thought those were the 2 best performances for the season for them. But yeah, boys, have you guys got anything else you want to add on the All Black season before we start looking at some domestic games?
It'll be interesting to see now that with TJ Perenara and Beauden Barrett going offshore, how the makeup of those slots and halfback, obviously Aaron Smith is still going to be there. Brad Webber's just signed on another year for the Chiefs and New Zealand Rugby, so he'll be trying to stake a claim in being that backup halfback as well to Smith.
Also, there was that other game, was it Suncorp?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was the Maroons winning. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Oh, mate.
Sorry.
My
My bad, boys. My bad.
Really,
Nice,
why so hey, Joey, the first thing that comes out of your mouth
yeah.
is a laugh.
All right, nice thoughts there, boys.
What about yourself, Joey?
Yeah.
Joey? We were just quickly recapping on
Nice
Argentina and
thoughts there,
the
boys.
ABs.
As we welcome in Joey, mate.
Yes. Argentina and the ABs. Wow, what a spectacle! I was actually in a nightclub watching that. Watching it over a few cold beverages, and talking crap as you do. No, it was good to watch. It was really good to watch. It was good to see them bounce back the way Sam Cane wanted them to back up, all the things that were said about their coach and make him look good again. Not only did they do that, I thought that they maybe picked themselves for the next game. A lot of them. It was good to see Artie playing well. Good to see a few of the normally quiet ones come out and play well. Yeah, it was good all around. I mean, Argies did every now and then try to throw in the niggly stuff, but I think the discipline was much better this time by the ABs. That period where it took them ages to score after 10-0 down, that was boring. For me, that was the only downer for me, was that period. Other than that, pass mark.
Yeah. It's hard to gauge where the All Blacks are at. Like, you talk about those points, because in previous years, that if they had that much ball and that much territory, that much position, they would have just run rampant. But they didn't do that. So, yeah, the jury stood out for me on that. But yeah, I agree with all of that you said there, Joey.
Also, the All Blacks have always had the luxury of having an end-of-year tour as well, so that, to either better or worsen their record for the year. So who knows, mate? I reckon Foster would have been well over 50% by the end of the year.
Oh, not if they got England and France. I think there'll be 2 more losses. Definitely one. I think they'll lose to England for sure. Yeah. All right. Good thoughts there, boys. On the All Blacks and the international game as a whole. But wanted to look domestically at the Mitre Cup that just finished over the weekend. So start by looking at the final first before we looking at the overall competition and some players and stuff. But yeah, Tasman won back-to-back Mitre Cup titles. So congrats to them, and they beat Auckland at Eden Park 13-12. So we've got a few Auckland boys, Auckland supporters here. I'm not sure if anyone went to the game. I was there, but Sully, mate, I'll come to you. I know you're a die-hard Auckland fan. Were you at the game, and what did you make of that?
No, I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't get out to the game. We had some churchy stuff going on during the day, so by that time I was too knackered to jump on a train or go to watch the game. But I think it was a really competitive game. I thought Auckland played really well. Give my kudos to Tasman. Obviously, they won the game. They made the plays that needed to be made in order to secure that win. But I thought it was a valiant effort from Auckland, going down 2 players and still only. I don't think we didn't get. Oh, they didn't get any points until we had 15 players, and it was just some stupid calls from the ref. I thought if there was a downer to that game, it was probably the referee. I thought he didn't do a good job of policing the game. I thought there were a lot of stuff that he missed. On both sides, but I would say, being an Auckland fan, there was quite a few contentious calls in regards to Tasman. There was one point where I think it was Devin Havili made a break, and our player couldn't contest for the ball because he went to go over the ball. He isolated himself, went to go over to steal the ball, and he flung his boots out at him. And I just didn't understand why he didn't go back and look at that, because that's obviously, it's not a professional foul, but it's foul play. That gives us the ball at halfway with a penalty to go for a corner or go towards the post. Even that last call where he caught it holding on, he was on the other side of the ruck. Tachi was there. He had like 2 swipes at it, missed it the first time, then put his hands back on the ball, and then called the penalty. Overall, I think it was 26 penalties, almost 30 penalties. That's far too large for a final, and like as disappointing as the result is, I give my give my props to Alama and Fiatita. They've trained a team to play through and to be resilient through adversity. The way they defended their line, the way they played, the way they game managed, they got the penalty right at halfway, and the players already knew, like, instead of going for the post, they already knew the game situation, and they executed everything by that drop kick at the end. And so, as much grief and slack as people are saying, why didn't they go for the penalty? Obviously, with Zan Sullivan hitting one from almost 50 out as well, but they executed everything. It was just unfortunate that Simon Hickey was on the field and he missed the kick. So we can't, I think the only positive thing for me out of that game was the fact that Auckland are in the final again, and it's good to see Auckland, being in the finals. And if with 3 years in a row, we've made a final, semi, and a finals. So that's awesome for me as an Auckland fan. Now we just hopefully this translate over through to the Blues, and I think it's just seeing Auckland rugby being superior again. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, nice thoughts there. Rod, sorry, Joey, mate, I know you were a diehard Auckland fan. I'm not sure if you went to the game, but what are your thoughts, brother?
He was in a nightclub somewhere.
No. That was the All Blacks game. I was in my club. But I tried. Here's a funny story. Not so funny for me, but I tried going to the game. And my car died as I got onto the Mangere Bridge from my mum and dad's house in Favona. And so I spent that whole game, the whole Auckland game, trying to suss out a tow vehicle, a tow truck, to come and get me.
Oh.
And yeah, it was horrible. So I missed the game, unfortunately, but I got the highlights later and obviously watched the replay. And in a little way, I was glad I didn't go. But yeah, the Aucklander in me agrees with what the also just said about it's great to see Auckland rugby back to some greatness, basically.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, Rog, mate, I thank you for last on purpose because at our tips at the start of the season, you picked Tasman. They've run back to back, mate. So, what did you see in Tasman that made you think that these guys are championship material?
They're only
Give you
the
a moment.
second team. They're only the second team to win back-to-back successive titles. And Canterbury have done it twice as well. So they're the second team after Canterbury. So I don't know, it was just something about the way that they rebuilt, because they were easy beats once upon a time, not so long ago, and they on the verge of almost being kicked out of the competition because they were just a newly formed team between Nelson and Marlborough. Coming together and forming what we know as the Tasman Makos. But I think it was just the injection of a lot of players who were on the cusp of being in the Crusaders, and then also they just picking up the scraps from what the Highlanders were having as well. So I think they had injected a lot of new talent there. Andrew Makalil was part of that injection as well, and they've been able to back it up this year. And I think, David Havili going there as well, so that was always going to be, it'll boost their ranks as well. But I think they nullified Auckland's, because we knew that Auckland had a lot of punching power in terms of offense, and they had the likes of Zan Sullivan, they had Rayasi on the wing as well, and then Lamb as well. So the two wingers who scored a lot of tries, 14 tries, I think, a piece this season or thereabouts. So we knew that they had good finishers, they had good an attacking side, but they were able to nullify that on the weekend. It didn't help that they had 2 yellow cards, Angus Tarval and then Zan Sullivan later on. But I think Zahn's one was. I don't think it was a yellow card. I think he had an actual chance of actually catching that ball, and it wasn't an actual slap down.
Yep.
So I disagreed with that sort of call to sin bin him. But I think his hand wasn't going down. It was he could have actually caught it,
Yeah.
and if he had been gone with it, it would have been an actual. So I don't think they need to sort of look more into that and judge it for what it is, and if it was an intentional slap down and trying to prevent a pass. Yep, they had an outside man out there that could have potentially scored, but I think he was actually trying to catch the ball as opposed to slapping it down, preventing the pass. Similar to what if Will Jordan had the same sort of action. He and it just happened to stay in the air for him. But that was a similar action that Zahn Sullivan was trying to do. He just couldn't keep up with the ball in the end. But anyway, I think those two yellow cards really 20 minutes with one man down really hurts a team. And I think Auckland they would probably admit that they have let themselves down, fans down. Having free entry for Auckland fans, only sort of a mild 13,000 turned up to the game, but they wouldn't have wanted to finish off on that note. They couldn't score a try. They were just left to Harry Plummer's boot and getting three penalties, and then Zahn Sullivan with the one that Sully mentioned as well. But I think Tasman will be very pleased with the result that they would have had. But what I liked about Auckland and how they going through the season is how they've eased Nickel Jones into it, and so they had Adrian Choate starting mostly at 7 until this final where they then put him at 6 and then Nickel Jones at 7 to start. So I think this Auckland team's going to be an exciting sort of union moving forward with the people that they've got in place there. Alama and Filoteti have done a lot, like Sully mentioned as well. But I'm not a big fan of Uppy. What's his name?
Lenny
Uppy-san.
Uppy-san. Yeah, he had a shocker first half.
Yeah. So not a big fan of him. I would have liked to see Joe Royal back in there, but obviously he had a cameo appearance last week. But then what do you say? Tasman Hooker only the one to get that try that got them to lead at 10-9. So, but I reckon Havili was good in that game too. Really enjoyed Havili.
He'll be. I'm not sure why. Well, I'm not that you can knock the guys that got selected, but will be one of the most unluckiest guys to not get in the All Blacks. He'll be right up there with Lachlan Bashir. Havili was bloody awesome, as he's been for a long time. Yeah,
I think it was because he got that injury as well at that sort of, and then
right, just bad timing.
Yeah. I think he could have come close to being in there, but when he got that sustained that injury, then he was out for a bit, so having to come back through the Mitre 10. The way.
I'm hoping when he does come off contract, the Blues make a play for him, mate. He's not getting any game time at the Crusaders, and he's coming off the bench. But he's a quality starter. I feel like hopefully the Blues will move on from Motere, put Perfetta full time at 10, and then hopefully we can get Havili or Zahn Sullivan at fullback. Liking what I see from him, but.
That's what I didn't expect. I expected them to do better because they beat them 31-10 the last time Tasman came to town,
But man, I think it was just the way the game went. Like you said, the ball never got out all the way to the wingers, and the wingers had big games the last time. I think another thing that probably missing is there was no TJ Fayane. There was no direction in the backs once it went past the 10. And TJ is a massive part, not only on defense but on offense. He organizes that back line, makes him and Manu's chemistry. Till this day, since they beat Canterbury in that final, that should always been the Blues midfield pairing moving forward. Obviously, it's not the case, but I think they missed TJ big time in that final.
Yeah, Simon Hickey had his chance to try and get that drop kick, but I reckon there was, when I could see that he was in the pocket, but I think they made one run off the ruck too many. I think he was ready one phase earlier, but then when they finally gave it to him, it just sort of drifted a little bit to the right. But yeah, who knows? Who knows? They could have made a massive difference because he was right there, right in front.
I reckon maybe. Oh well, Alama, if you're listening, but they should have had two guys in the pocket. They should have had Hickey on the left, San Sullivan on the right. One
I
right,
agree.
one left foot. And then at the same time, I think the main issue for Simon Hickey was he rushed the kick. Man, I don't know why, because
He had heaps of time.
heaps of time. Yeah, and the defense, they put a wall up, so he had time. He should have just. You could tell by the way he kicked it, his head came up way too soon because he was looking to see where it was going to go. But if he had just put
Grant
his
Fox
head down,
never had his head up.
nah, man. But that's like with any good, with any kicker or any drop kicker, they just look at the ball the way it bounces, where they've struck the ball, and just follow through. So yeah, I think it was a bit rushed when he had ample time to get it off securely.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I went to the game and I was shaking my head during that whole passage because I was with you, Roger. I thought they could have gone a little bit earlier. Just crying over spilled milk a little bit. But you're right. I'm with you guys, Joey and Sully. 3 good seasons. For long time Auckland supporters. When was the last time we've had 3 really top seasons? So. Hopefully this is the start of something. And when you talk about some of the young players that you guys have all mentioned, I think the future of Auckland looks like it could be quite strong. So, sorry, Roger, you were going to say something?
No. I agree. Like Caleb Clark was there in 2018 when they won it as well. The last time they won it. So.
Oh yes, and another thing as well, boys.
Hoskins Tutu. That was his first year too.
Yeah. I think Tasman had the luxury of having not many All Blacks as well. So they had quite a few like really good Super Aotearoa players in their starting lineup. Where maybe for Auckland, you would say the whole forward pack almost wasn't really. Actually, there was no starter in that forward pack besides maybe Angus, but he was always on the bench for the Chiefs. Even the back line as well. Rayasi is not starting. Lamb, that midfield, Manu wasn't getting any games. Tanya Taleo was injured. Plummer always came off the bench. So if you look at it that way, for them to go up against a stacked Tasman, maybe team with Super Rugby experience, I think we can take some positives out of that.
Just like to have a massive shout out to former All Black that came back and he was on the bench for the Tasman Makos. Isaac Ross, all the way back from Japan, was on the bench for Tasman. He came off the bench and he was putting in some good work as well. So line out option, tackling. Yeah, he doesn't look out of place. He still looked the same as when he left 12 years ago. But circumstances has forced his hand to come back home. He's considered a local player.
Who got the last penalty that made that tackle and got the penalty?
Havili.
Holding on. Was it which one? David or
Havili?
Or was his brother?
David Havili proved an inspirational figure for his underdog side.
For me, I think that was probably the only downfall was the way he celebrated after that penalty. I think it wasn't in the true nature of the game. But I think for me, what I'm disappointed about was like if I was on the field and I saw that happen, I would have went over there and just punched his mouth, or just collared him or something, I think, because the only reason I'm saying that, because if it was the other way around, trust me, the media tabloids will have a field day with Auckland. Being and it's just like, bro. Like there's there's if you're gonna do that, then hopefully go both ways, So if the Blues do beat them, man, I want someone to rub it in his face,
So I didn't see it, Sully. What did he do?
Oh, like I said, Tumo Manu was holding the ball. He was on the ground. He pretty much went over his face and started yelling,
Yep.
like, obscenities and stuff like that. But like for me, I think it was because it was Manu. He's a quiet, humble player. He's not even anything like that. But yeah, he just shouted in his face and was saying, all the stuff. But yeah, if I was Manu, I should have just got up and just collared him. Yeah, but
Might have the last laugh next season.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, all good. Nah, that's all good. That's all good.
Yep.
But the other
Good
game,
thoughts there, boys, on the final. Yeah. Yes. Good point. We'll touch on that other one. Rod, I'll let you go first because I didn't catch a lot of that. First one was Hawke's Bay. Hawke's Bay got the chocolates there against Northland.
It was going try for try,
Rog,
in their
what
first
did you
half.
catch in the...
Yeah, it was just it was really exciting first half. I caught most of this first half, but then Hawke's Bay ran away with it in the second half. But they showed real good energy. The Taniwha, they were leading at one stage as well. Tom Robinson was firing on all cylinders. Rennie Ranger, good leadership around the field. But then obviously Hawke's Bay had Formati. He plays. I think he was a midfielder, number 12. His surname's Formati. Man, he had some good.
He got a good try.
Runs, he was, and then also this real good leg power. Almost like he reminded. There was another player that looked like Adi Savea, but like a younger version, but on the wing. I can't remember his name. And he had some good runs too. But Formati and
was that the one for Tasman Lister?
Sorry, getting mixed up. He was
he had an awesome game.
Yeah, but this guy Formati and even Michael Tu'u, the way that they were playing for Hawke's Bay, they did really well. They created a lot of opportunities, but the halfback, there's a lot of talk. Folau Fakatava, and he's down at the Highlanders. He's had a few games for the Highlanders, obviously behind Aaron Smith. But then, out of the blue, after that game, they were thinking it's an All Black worthy performance, and will Tonga come to the party well before he gets a look in for the All Blacks. But he's signed with the Highlanders. Be interesting to see where they go with, because he stands out. He's got the hairdo all going on, the mullet, the blonde mullet. But he seemed like a real nippy firecracker. Got around. He didn't shy away from the confrontation, but had a pretty good pass as well. And some of the reads that he made to get the ball out wide and skip a few players, that proved to be the difference, where they were able to finish out wide and get on top of the Taniwha in the end. But it was an exciting match. Prop Tavita Lee's brother played for Taniwha, scored the first try, or one of the first tries for the Taniwha. Lua Lee. They started off with a hiss and a roar, but like I said, it was a tussle back and forth in that first half. And they ran away with it in the end, and just proving to have too much possession and just too much firepower in the end for the Taniwha to be able to contain. But I'm happy for the Taniwha to be, little brother, to be able to get up and to play out a championship final like that. So very, very, very enjoyable season for them.
Yep. Good thoughts there. Good analysis there, Rog. What about you, Joy, mate? Hawke's Bay. What did you make of them as champs and that second division there?
I thought they had a pretty consistent season, and I wasn't surprised with the final performance and result. I felt like they were the most consistent team and deserved everything they got for the whole season. I thought of all the teams that I watched in the NPC this season, they were my favorite to watch, because I felt a little bit more excited to watch, especially the way the halfback rounded the troops, the forwards, and got them engaged and barked orders their way, and obviously got that ball out to whoever he needed to get it out to. He stood out with his hairstyle, I thought, but also their backline weren't afraid to try things, whether it be a grubber, a chip and chase. Mate, they seem to just have, all the confidence in the world. So they're really exciting to watch. For me, Hawke's Bay were, well deserved of everything they got.
Ash Dixon dotting down again for the Bay.
Yeah, led by Ash
Yeah,
Dixon.
I agree with that. They were bloody awesome.
Now he can score as many tries as he wants. I still remember how he bloody
he's a
lost the
good
ball
captain,
against
old
North
Ash
versus South.
Dixon, and that's great to have that type of leadership in the team there.
Yeah. That's
what
really
about you, Sully?
unfortunate,
Cheers, Stace. For me, I like the boys highlighted, man. Fakatava was awesome. I think that's probably what every halfback needs, is to be behind a good halfback as a mentor. And like you could see Aaron Smith's abilities in him, and just like you guys said, read the game real well, was always playing almost like 2 plays ahead, and just always making the right decision. The way he's barking his forwards around, that's Aaron Smith right there, and I'm just happy that a talent of his, is getting properly nurtured, behind Aaron Smith. I thought it was good to see, obviously, Vicinier as well as the likes of
Yes,
for
Lorraine
Ma'i.
Vicinier.
Yeah, their backline was awesome, and I think it was the Shield match, which pretty much, ever since they've won the Shield, they've just put on back to back great performances. Adversity hasn't been an issue for them, in the sense like they've been down in games, but they've just finished strong, always finished strong, and that's a testament to the leadership of Dixon, and just the way he patrols his boys. I like the fact that even though there's some names in that team, like even the likes of Kurt Baker, good to see him playing 15s, and he's playing really well. He's been missing on the 7th season for a while. Whether he's been playing overseas or not, I'm not too sure. But it was good to see how he him in the number 15 and doing really well. Their forwards were awesome, all young forwards too. The number 7's really good, Funaki. Awesome player, man. Awesome player. Like, he's a hybrid 7, but he's bigger than Adi, because he can run, he can hit, he good at the line out as well. So I'm not too sure. Do you know who signed him for me, or whether he's on anyone?
No.
I'm not sure. Just for our listeners out there, we're doing the podcast early. I think the Super Rugby teams are named on Tuesday. Yeah, so we're recording this on Monday. But yeah, that's a good question. There's quite a few loose forwards out there who will be looking to get picked up as well, and he's in that conversation as well.
Yeah, Northern, I thought they just missed probably Sam Knock, who obviously pulled up me in the last game. So it would have been awesome to see him and Fakatava go at it. That would have been a really good 9 battle in itself. But then again, it's the same thing. Like, I'm just happy and proud of Northland, who have been known to be, the easy beats. Them and Southland have been known that the team that everyone powers the tries and the points on to up your PD and your bonus points. But them this year have been awesome, and like, I think the great success within the ITM, or the Mitre 10 this year, has just been seeing all the teams be competitive. You do have your blowouts, and that's just the last couple of minutes, or like just stuff hasn't gone their way. But it's awesome to see all the teams playing at a high level and being competitive with each other.
Yep, I agree with that. Hawke's Bay, they were just outstanding. I agree with you. Once they got the Shield, that put some steel in their performances. They don't want to lose the Shield, so they play good every week, and they were able to carry that strong mentality right through the playoffs. And so I was what Joy you mentioned earlier. I thought that was no surprise, that result, to be fair. But good to see Northland. I'm a diehard Blues fan, so all of our listeners will know that. And it's always good to see one of the Blues franchise teams doing well. So congrats to Hawke's Bay. They deserved it. Good on them. Outstanding. But boys, I just wanted to have a quick reflection on the overall competition. The Mitre 10 Cup is it is third tier rugby in New Zealand, unfortunately, and it's a good opportunity for some young guys to come through and stamp their credentials and be the next big thing and the next sort of Super Rugby star or All Blacks future player. So just wanted to look at some who really stood out for you guys. Any standout players that we should be keeping an eye on? What about you, Roger? Have you got anyone that sort of comes to mind for just some
I think Zan Sullivan
youngster that you thought, wow?
Sullivan and Rayasi for Auckland. Obviously talented young men, but who have Rayasi's already been on the 7th circuit. Whether he can kick on and from there and try and show what he can do at super level with the Hurricanes and go on to higher honours from there. Is only time will tell. Obviously with Whakatawa coming into the play, especially in that final, but he's had a stellar season, and he's been included in that Moana Pacifica team to line up against the Māori All Blacks as well. So yeah, Rayasi's in there as well. So it's another sort of platform for these young island boys to try and showcase their wares, and keep the high echelon of All Black selectors and All Black players aware of their talents. But then that in itself should be a good showcase of Indigenous rugby next week, Māori All Blacks and Moana Pacifica. But for Mai, that centre for Mai, for Hawke's Bay, I really like the goods of him. He's quite short in stature, almost like another Ngani Laumape mould. But he just had some really telling runs in that, especially in that second half. But I guess another one to look out for, and I'm really happy to have made his way back from injury, was Tom Robinson, and running out for the Taniwha as well. So hopefully he can kick on. And we all sort of thought that he'd be in the All Black ranks or close to it by the end of this year, but obviously injuries taking a toll, and he's had to make his way slowly back. But I think he's a massive shot for the future with the All Blacks from next year onwards, all going to plan.
Yeah, nice thoughts. I agree with Rayasi, especially with Ben Lamb leaving the Hurricanes. He's been with the Hurricanes for a couple of years, but he's been stuck behind some pretty good backs. So I think there's a few backline openings at the Hurricanes, and if he can carry that form on, he'll definitely be a player to watch. But what about you, Joey, mate? Anyone stand out for you during the Mitre 10 Cup, or any young buck catch your eye that you think could be a player of the future?
Yep. I'm biased with this first one because his family, it's in there in a nice head tour. He's one to look out for. He's just re-signed with the Chiefs. Whakatawa I think is a pretty obvious one for me. He's just exciting. I just love what he's bringing to the game, and like also Saleh said, there are some similarities there that you can spot in his game that are obviously mentored through by Aaron Smith. One more guy would be Rayasi. Rayasi's another exciting one on the wing. The one from Tasman would be another one. Leicester.
Yep.
Is it Whanganui?
Yeah, Whanganui.
Whanganui.
Yeah, so that's another one.
In the final.
Those two would be the wings for me, that the outside backs for me. Yeah, so those four names are the ones that I thought were ones to look out for.
Yeah, I agree with Whakatawa. He really announced himself for this Mitre 10 Cup. He's only 20, so he's got the world at his feet. It's his third Mitre 10 Cup campaign as well. So he started off as a 17-year-old, and he was this, childhood superstar who was destined to be an All Black from day one. And it's good to see him starting to get some game time and fulfill his potential. So yeah, agree with that. How about you, Sally, mate? Have you got some players that you've earmarked for big things?
Yeah, I agree with all of the boys' selections. 100%. I'll try to find someone else. Caleb Trask, I thought he had a really good season. I obviously signed with the Chiefs. I thought
Yes.
he was awesome from fullback.
Yep.
Rog, man, I'm being for real, man. I thought he was real good.
Some of these guys, they were rubbishing Trask at the beginning of the season with the Chiefs.
Yes,
Man.
I was one of those guys. I'll put my hand up. I thought he was
They're calling him
trash.
trash.
Every Bay of Plenty game I watch, because I always try to watch, because obviously Ortega is there as well as Kurt Eklund, so I try and watch some Blues players. But yeah, he played really well, and I never knew he had that kind of running game, because he was always at first five. So I always, assumed because he kept on passing or kicking that he never, man, but he was awesome from the back. Great linking play, good ball skills, but at the same time, like real, what's it called? Deceiving with his speed and his agility. So he played really well for Bay. Joe Weber played awesome for the Bay. The thing I like about Joe Weber, he's not your prototypical wing, but the thing I like about him, you give him space and a one-on-one ability, man, a one-on-one chance, sorry, he can do some real good damage. And I think every team needs a winger like that. You need a power winger, and then you need a winger that you give him some space and the opportunity to make something out of nothing. I thought Marino had another big year, obviously carrying on from the Highlanders. Mikaele Tua, he was awesome this year. Just like the number 7, Funaki, he had awesome season. I'm just trying to think of some other forwards who really stood out. But maybe Lutero Tolai, the hooker from Harbour, he played awesome this year. He got one of the top try scorers, obviously off their mauls, but he's not signed at the moment to a full-time Super Rugby contract. So I hope Auckland, make a really big push for him, because I know there's what's his name, Ray Newers with them with the Blues, and then there's a younger guy that they signed out of the 20s to long-term contract. So and then there's Kurt as well. So Kurt and Lutero, they're on the same ship in terms of the Blues. So those are probably the only guys, as well as the guys you guys have already mentioned as well. So I didn't do much. I watched the highlights, but you got to watch the full games in order to really see who stands up. And another one would probably be Adrian Choke. I thought he played really well for Auckland this year.
Yeah, true.
That's one there I would hope if he can try
Auckland
and secure a super contract. You'd hope for the Blues that he gets it locally, because then
it's hard, man.
Game for
we're too deep with the Lucies, man. Like we've got Akira, we've got Dalton, we've got what's his name, Robinson. We just signed Dylan Hunt. We've got Hoskins. We've got Nico.
Chiefs.
We've got Cho.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Nah, we don't want to end his career too early. The Chiefs are the new Blues.
He wants to win at least one game, so he doesn't want to play for the Chiefs.
Okay, Mana Pacifica. He's going Mana Pacifica.
Oh man, that's our team, boys. That's our team for the future.
He's only testing. He's only teasing the Chiefs.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Oh, Rog, who was your guy's number 9 that came later on in the season for Waikato? Little white boy, man. He's touted for big things too. For Waikato.
Yeah.
Real nippy guy.
Xavier Rowe was his name.
Yeah, he is awesome. I like him, mate. He's just got that, he's got a good mix of Aaron Smith and Brad Weber in him. Got a good passing game off the ground, but he's nippy around the rocks.
Why Weber's only signed for one season. So I don't know.
This guy Rowe, he looks the goods.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys hit all the nails on the head. And Sally, I'm glad you brought up Caleb Trask, because you're right. He got a bit of slack. Rog mentioned it earlier. He got a bit of slack on the podcast.
Stace, from you.
Yes, yes. I'll put my hand up, and I'll also give him credit. He played the awesome Mitre 10 Cup campaign. I didn't think he was that good. I thought he was pretty ordinary, but maybe he's more of a fullback than a first 5, because that first 5 for the Chiefs, he wasn't that good. So and I also wanted to bring up Adrian Choate again, because we're just so deep in the loose forwards. He deserves to be playing Super Rugby, but I just don't know how the Blues could hold him. I think maybe the Highlanders could be a good pickup for him because Dylan Hunt.
Yeah, with Dylan Hunt coming up
has
this
left
way,
them
they'll
to
be
come to
looking
the
for
Blues.
someone.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
You
yeah,
never know
that's,
where you end up. But
yeah, there's just too many good loose forwards up here in the Blues. So
Yeah.
I think they might end up taking Nick or Jones. Obviously, doing this podcast before the Super Rugby teams are named on Tuesday, and I think he was in the development team and they've earmarked him for a long time. So I think they'll stick it out with. He might get in the team ahead of Choate, even though I thought Choate had a better year.
Campaign, yeah.
Yep, boys. Some good thoughts there on the. Yeah, some good thoughts there on the Mitre 10 Cup. So normally in this section, this would be we would do our TAB predictions, but I don't know if we probably will give it a miss this time because I know someone's got a good one. But what I will say is we started the season with $50, and now we're up to $117 with all of our tips.
Hey.
Of course, we're up.
beating us over
we're
the
winning,
$100 mark as well.
Yeah, that Tasman pick of you, Rog. They got us over the 100. So yeah, it's been a pretty good season on the predictions. Actually, I was quite shocked. It's $50 up to
How much
117.
altogether?
So we're winning $117 all up now.
Oh, that's some covered
They're
seats.
not
for
a
next week's game.
lot, but you know.
Covered.
Sounds like
That's some covered seats out at the FMG Stadium this week.
yeah. So it sounds like we made up for all the
Yeah. I have to look at it.
the bad predictions about the Chiefs to win a game.
Yeah.
There's one other kid that I forgot to mention.
You know, Rog, you got some of this.
There's this 19-year-old from Germany.
Oh yes.
And he came off the bench. He was playing for the Mako on the weekend. Came off the bench, and he came on like a 6-month exchange student from Germany, and he just loved the country. He ended up staying, and he wants to be the first full-blooded German All Black. So, but he looked good. I saw him win a turnover. He's obviously
good build,
quite a big size. Yeah, big build.
He won a turnover, yeah, in their final.
Yeah, they mentioned him as the German student. I said, whoa, and there he was. Yeah, Anton Signa.
Signa, this one. Yeah. Another player as well, Stacey, played hooker as well. Harry Grant.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a rookie. He played really well for the Maroons this year. Did well in that game 3.
I'm going to edit all this out. Editing this out.
Cam, just keep your Sully right now, Cam. I know you can hear me, mate. Just all of a sudden, technical difficulties. Oh, we've lost the satellite image from Sully. All of a sudden, Papakura doesn't have any reception.
Oh, listen to that Blueslander.
Oh my gosh. How are we finishing on this, Stace? How are we finishing on this? Did you not screen this guy and tell him what he's talking about, man? Far out.
Sorry, boy. Sorry, mate.
So not only Chiefs, but you're Blues. So that means you're a Blueslander. Oh dear.
You got to go on Isaiah's on his pod if you want to talk about rugby league, man. Damn it.
Oh, sorry, my bad, boys.
All good.
Go them.
Yeah.
Go the Mighty Maroons.
All good. Yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back next year, definitely.
Sure.
All right, boys. We're just about to finish up now. That's been pretty deep content, but I mentioned just for you, Joey and Sully, that this is probably going to be our last podcast for the year. So we'll start getting some final thoughts and just some recapping or whatever you wanted to say. So in regards to the whole podcast or just the whole rugby year in general or anything. So Rog, mate, I'll come to you, brother. Have you got some final words for the year, really?
I think it's been an interesting year. It's been an awesome platform to sort of just give thoughts and just share a bit of banter with the boys and with the crew. So well done to the network, to WESWES Network, and also Stace for hosting us on the Mondays evening. I think we've settled on Monday evenings now. We were chopping and changing a bit throughout the year, but 20 podcasts it's not too shabby. So I think I remember when this was all starting up with the WESWES Network back of the 135, and 9 was the magic number. apparently. You get over 9 and you're able to sort of make a good fist of it. So to do 20, yep, proud of the network, happy to be a part of it, and always grateful for being on it. But I think what can be a good reflection on a lot of the players and how the year that they've had, as well as just everything in general, is what got you here won't get you there. And that's a quote from a Marshall, not Justin Marshall, Marshall Goldsmith. Is he's some American motivational coach. So and I think that's probably something like with the likes of Caleb Clark coming through and in his maiden year, Will Jordan, those guys. I mean, a lot of work has gone into them getting to where they are now. It's a matter of whether they can do the work in order for them to stay there. So that's why I believe that is quite a good sort of quote. Is what got you here doesn't mean it's not what's going to get you there and keep you there tomorrow. Hold up.
Oh, nice inspirational quote there, Rog. And I agree with that too. So that's a good one for our podcast as well. So you can't just rest on our laurels, and we'll probably, hopefully, no, we definitely will come back with some bigger and better things for 2021. But mate, Joey, mate, have you got some final words just for everyone for the year to close out the podcast for the year?
Yeah, well, it's been quite a, for lack of a better word, tumultuous ride in the Counter Ruck topics of conversation, especially around rugby. I think looking forward, it'd be nice to maybe talk more about and watch more women's rugby. That could be something to think about for the future. Also, it's really interesting right now for me as a rugby man, born and raised in Aotearoa, how this Moana Pasifika team plays out and how they actually go against the New Zealand Māori team. Yep, they've got our backing. They have the team representing us, so we'll back them. Although they do have a court case looming, so we'll see how that goes. Also, it's been quite cool to watch grassroots rugby and the engagement that it's got from audiences that may not have normally tuned in or been as engaged. I think a large part of that we can thank COVID for that. For bringing some excitement back to our sport, our beloved sport of rugby. A lot of the fans have been waiting for some sporting events, like when Auckland NPC first put on their games at Eden Park. It was unfortunate to not see Auckland take the title, given that they put on a free event at the Garden of Eden to thank the crowds for supporting them all the way through. And it was still nice to see the likes of Tasman, who are filled with Auckland players anyway, get the W. So I think Auckland Rugby the future of Auckland Rugby is looking strong. So
Yeah, I agree with all that. And it's a good point you brought up about Moana Pasifika. We didn't really touch on that on this podcast, but it's something that we have followed quite closely throughout the whole 20 episodes. So if something dramatic happens over the next couple of weeks, which may unfold, I might get the bat phone out and call a snap podcast just so we can keep all the listeners and everyone informed. So yeah, good call on bringing that up there, Joey. But Sully, mate, I'll come to you. Have you got some just final thoughts to close out the year?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I think it's been a privilege and honor to be on the podcast with you three Usos, and as well as the Uso Cam. This is something quite fairly new to me to be on a podcast, but at the same time, it's good to see and enjoy your guys' company and the banter that we all share. It's good to see that there's some rugby heads out there that share the same amount of passion in the sport that we've all come to love and grow up with in Aotearoa. I think with these unprecedented times, I think it's awesome to see how rugby was a shining light for most of us in these times of difficulty in terms of finding some sort of happiness and passion within the sport we all love. It was good to see Super Aotearoa as well. We've been dying for a comp based with just our Super Rugby teams, and it's pretty much the battle of the best. So, and it's that was pretty good. It was good to see. Obviously, some of us, in that case, as our beloved Blues, do really well this year. Probably not the results and coming second, but we'll take it.
Wrap it up, mate.
And it was good to see those Chiefs go winless.
I'm calling it now, man. Chiefs going to take it out next year. Stace, put money on it. Stace, that's the money right there.
Yeah. But I think it's
Oh, mate, that's 5-1 after last year's season. Sorry, carry on.
Oh man, no, that's okay. I think it's this podcast has been an awesome opportunity to obviously get some of our brown voices out there in terms of what we believe and what we think in terms of rugby and some of the issues around rugby. I think the good thing about this podcast, it's never just based on obviously like rugby matches and the scorelines. We talk about different issues that surround the game of rugby, which is something that probably isn't highlighted in the mainstream media at the moment. So there's opportunity for us to grow there. I hope maybe in the next year coming that we can all find a studio or place that we can all record together, just so that we can all share the reactions as well as not get this much latency. Obviously, that some of our loyal viewers complain about, but that's all part of the growing process for us. Like you said, we're still new, we're still growing, and the future is quite bright for us in terms of us brown brothers. Breaking into these new grounds that we have all had the likes of Stace and Cam set up for all of us. So again, I appreciate and nothing but love and respect for you guys also for having me on board.
Hey.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Must be a Queenslander.
Solly.
Must be a Queenslander.
well said there, brother. That's very articulate, brother. And you're right. That's what our network is about. It's about trying to promote Polynesian voices and push things forward. So I'm happy that the Counter Ruck can be part of the whole WESWES network, because that's what we're trying to achieve here. But good thoughts there, boys. I just want to thank you guys all for jumping on. Joey, Rog, Saleh, thanks for coming on today. Also, our other regular contributors throughout the year. So we've had Cameron, has been on, Eyes. I had Ray Nuia, who was on as a special guest as well. So thanks to all those boys, and also just thanks to all our listeners who've been following us in 2020 on this journey as part of the WESWES network. As I mentioned, we've basically covered a whole heap of topics and made a lot of bold predictions. Some of them have been pretty good, and some of them have been not so good. But we've all had a lot of fun. So just thanks to everyone. But this will be our last podcast for the year, unless something dramatic happens with Moana Pacifica or something like that. But we will be back, bigger and better next year in time for Super Rugby in January. So we'll come back probably, and we'll talk about some other things like Joey mentioned. Women's rugby will be good for us to pick up a lot of that and the grassroots of the game. Maybe get some guests in and that sort of stuff. So we're going to come back bigger and stronger for sure. But if you're a regular listener to our podcast and you're thinking to yourself, what am I going to listen to in the next sort of couple of months? Jump on our website, www.weswesdet.com. We've got, I think, 13 podcasts on our network. So I'm sure you can find something to listen to. The pitch is always a good one, which Joey runs. So if you're looking for something to listen to, have a listen to that. But just in closing, I wanted to wish everyone a good and safe Christmas and Happy New Year. And we'll see you all again in January. Cheers, boys.
Nice. Thanks, Stace.
Moana Pacifica to upset Māori All Blacks.
Yeah, maybe we
Is
should
there
have
money on
that.
that?
Oh, we could put a cheeky 10 to get the pot up.
Cheeky 10. Nice.
Oh, I forgot to mention. Yeah.
Hey, so Cam?
On paper, Rog, they've got a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just whether they can,